Have you ever wondered why people perceive you differently than you perceive yourself? Well, it's called self-awareness. And so we're going to dive into that to see how we can make that a strength of our own, to better our relationships at the house, to make ourselves a stronger career path, and to have longer lasting relationships with people that we care about. So let's look at that together today. Okay, let's jump right into it today. So self-awareness first, let's talk about what self-awareness is and isn't. So self-awareness really is about understanding yourself in a realistic way. So what it's not is it's not taking a deep dive into the inner crevices of your being and going down into the deepest, darkest places in your life and your existence and digging those things out. It doesn't have to be that kind of journey. So understanding yourself and having a good sense of self-awareness is really just understanding the triggers that you have, understanding your place in a social circle, understanding how you're coming across to others. That's just simply what it is. It's nothing that has to be a deep, long, treacherous journey in self-discovery. All right, so we're going to cover some examples of poor self-awareness and great self-awareness too. So we're going to bring in Sarah with us. So Sarah's going to be our model throughout this series, along with Scott on occasion, to show us some examples of that. So we'll cover the poor one first. So I'm going to share some examples of just as if I were Sarah's leader, or boss, or supervisor, whatever you call it, and if I'm giving the feedback to her or to someone else about Sarah. So here we go. Poor self-awareness. So Sarah's stress and sense of being overwhelmed are projected on the one that she's around. I think she cares for people, but seems like she's a little bit in her own world. She doesn't understand why she doesn't fit in, and things become a little bit awkward for the other person. If things are going well, Sarah's going well too. She's kind of that kind of person. She needs to recognize her triggers so that she can respond better than others. All right, so that's an example of poor self-awareness. Now let's look at the other side of the coin. Let's look at an example of great self-awareness. So again, same example. I'm her supervisor or leader giving the feedback to you or about her or to Sarah herself. So here we go. So Sarah understands her place in the job and her contribution to a meeting and conversations. She's a long-term planner. She doesn't sacrifice the here and now for her desired future down the road. Sarah understands her emotional triggers and things in place to handle those when they happen. Sarah does a great job staying calm in those crazy moments that we all have. So that's truly great self-awareness, to be able to lock in and understand our role, again, in a business environment or a cultural environment or just with your group of friends, so that we can have great relationships and navigate those in a positive way. All right, so now that we've looked at some examples of poor self-awareness and good self-awareness, let's look at some examples I wanted to give you of how you increase your self-awareness. So tip number 1, quit treating your emotions as good or bad. So we often have the times of getting angry or getting sad or depressed or upset, and we feel like those things are bad things. They're not bad. They're simply emotions. So take the emotions that comes, accept it, acknowledge it, and let it pass through you and move on to the next thing, because the issue is not that happiness is good and anger is bad. It's when we sit in those two places for too long and we let those things encompass us and drive our decision-making process. So if you get angry and you let it go, you just acknowledge it, and that's good self-awareness. But if you let the anger sink in and seep in you, and now it's controlling how you're carrying yourself throughout the rest of your day, and it's ruined a dinner with your significant other, or it's blown up your reputation in a meeting, it's bad. So it's not one way or the other. So just acknowledge the emotions that you have and let them pass on through you. The second one is don't let a mood fool you. So boat owners often have a saying, it goes something along the lines of this, that the best day in a boat owner's life is the day they buy the boat and the day they sail the boat. Because They often buy a boat when they're in a great mood of, oh man, I can project myself out on those waters and the wind's hitting in my hair and the water's spraying up on the side and I'm having a great time and the weather's perfect. And they buy the boat and they spend a significant amount of money buying the boat. And then they don't realize they've got to have a place to store it. And they've got to have a place now to go pick it up. And they've got to take it somewhere to a lake. And they've got to get gas for it, maintain it. They're still paying boat payments every month, by the way. Get it out of the water, take it back to wherever they store it at, get their car, take the car to the house, or take up your whole garage with your boat, as you may see in your neighborhood. And the next best day of their life is the day they sell it. They get rid of that obligation and responsibility because it's just not worth the amount of effort that you put into it. So we make decisions sometimes based off of, again, great moods that we're in, being over happy, buying a house, buying a car, jumping into a relationship. But we also make poor decisions when we are not in a good frame of mind either, right? So when we're deeply depressed, very angry, we make poor decisions as well. So don't let your moods fool you in your decision-making process throughout the day. The third is to know and understand your triggers that you may have in your life. So this could be at work where, hey, there's this guy that works with me that I just don't get along with. And whenever he comes into a meeting, he's always chewing gum loudly and not being respectful, and it just grates on my nerves, right? So understanding triggers like that, whether it's some action that somebody takes, whether it is a set of circumstances that manifest themselves from time and again in your life, to running late, running behind. I know a trigger for me is wasting my time. Don't waste my time. It's a trigger for me. Any of those things that are triggers in your life, start to think about what those are so that you can be aware about those. Which leads us to our fourth one. Watch yourself. Watch yourself and your triggers. When you know and understand your triggers, now that you understand those, you'll feel them begin to culminate inside yourself from time to time as you are in our interaction. So if I'm in there and Scott's sitting across the table and he's just smacking his gum and being silly and doing everything else that he does in a meeting, I can sense it already coming up inside me, so I can address it so it doesn't overflow, doesn't overtake me, make me lose my cool in a meeting. So think about your triggers as well, so you can watch those. So again, quit treating your emotions as good or bad. They're just simply emotions. Acknowledge them, move on. Don't let your mood fool you into a hasty or bad decision. Know what your triggers are and watch out for them in your daily walk. So that's how we go through self-awareness. So think through those things. How do you increase that to strengthen your self-awareness? Because this really is the foundation for the other steps of the process of emotional intelligence. So increase your self-awareness, strengthen your emotional intelligence, and make it better tomorrow.